Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome, everyone. You are now tuned into season 9 of Sonya on Air, where I unpack celebrity pivotal moments and their milestones. I have another great season lined up for you. I'm so excited to speak to today's celebrity guest. I have none other than Tyla Harris joining us. But just a few moments, I want to tell you, make sure that you subscribe to all Sonya on Air streaming platforms and be sure to hit that notification button. It is so important that we not only marvel at these celebrities on camera, we're listening to their music, but let's find out how they got to that celebrity status and how they maintain it. And also, like I said, their pivotal moments and their milestones. So make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification button, and stay abreast of all Sonya on Air shows. So like I told you, I have a great guest today. I've been watching Tyla since the launch of ABC's For Life. This is a story that really resonates with me. And in such difficult and trying times, I am so curious to just unpack this young mind, to just find out how is she navigating in this difficult space. And she's on set right now. So let's just bring Tyla right in to Sonya on Air. Hi, Tyla.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Do you prefer to be called Tyla Harris or Tyla Ann Harris?
It's whatever you prefer. Ann's my middle name, but everyone loves it. So I threw it on there.
I get it. I definitely believe in the power of a name. So I just want to make sure that I'm speaking life into you and your name and your ancestors and all the greatness that is about to happen.
I love that.
So before we get to talk about your role as Jasmine Wallace on ABC's For Life, I just want to talk about this crucial time that the world is in, especially the United States, the siege of the Capitol. Now, you're 21 years old, correct?
I just turned 20 in November.
Oh, 20 years old. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Now, 20 years old, I have a daughter who is around the same age, and she and we really had conversations about this current administration and also the siege on the Capitol. What are your thoughts about that, and how has it impacted you?
Well, I'll start off by saying this. I've been a policy debater for 7 years, and with public policy is basically structured just like a courtroom. So I've learned almost everything there is to learn about the law. And also I'm a political science student right now, and I'm concentrating in international affairs in my majors, poli-sci. So based on just what I've learned over the years as a political science student and, actually interning with my DA, doing different things like that, I think if you are one that is respectful of the law, and you're one that's always like, I hear this rhetoric with a lot of Trump supporters. I don't believe in factions. I don't believe in being a Democrat or being a Republican. I just believe in policies and implementing the policies that you want. So I hear a lot of conservative talk, especially even over the summer when there were peaceful protesters from Black Lives Matter protesters, of just being like, you have to do it peacefully, respectfully. You have to do it in a way where you meet people where they are so that you can get your message across. I don't necessarily understand what the message was with the siege of the Capitol. I mean, I understand that, of course, we want our electoral process to go through the correct ways. But by sieging it, I don't understand what exactly that tells the government.
Yeah,
I have had some discussion with some Trump supporters where they'll tell me like it's more so them building a militia to say, we can take back this government whenever we want. But I think we do just have to be aware of, number one, what's going on in this country and what's going on outside of this country. There's a lot of weight on what the U.S. is doing and who's in charge of the U.S. So if they see chaos within this country, imagine what countries who don't like us are seeing.
Yeah,
I just feel like you can do it. You can do it respectfully. You can gather around, but to scale walls, to sit here and threaten police officers.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm really concerned. And there's a statement that I've been hearing from a lot of political commentators. I was glued to the television for about 2 days, which was unhealthy. I had to detach and unplug because I was overstimulated. But the statement that I kept hearing was, this is not America. And in my opinion, I was saying, this is America. And I'm so glad that the world is now seeing, everything that the world tried to cover for so long. So when you hear that statement, this is not America, how do you feel about that?
I think for a long time, people are uncomfortable with bad histories. I think we have been watering down our history for a long time. And one of my favorite quotes, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. So just like when you think about how America was built, right? Let's just walk through the historical process. This was a piece of land that someone discovered. No one wants to go into another country with no resources and fight to survive. So when whoever in Britain was like, you can go to America, but you have to do it on your own with your own money, XYZ, only people who really want to try something different and adventurous and crazy wanted to go. Right. Plus, a lot of the states were built off of prisoners from Britain coming to America in order to start a second life. Then you think about someone entering the country and you have natives here who were not violent, who were like, I will teach you how to live. I will teach you how to build. And that is completely surpassed to the point where natives are killed. And on top of that, they sought out to make sure that they killed even Native Americans' food. Yeah. So bison, they literally killed off a whole species of animal to make sure that these people didn't survive. Then they bring in people. So you're kidnapping people on top of that. And a lot of people love to talk about slavery. They love to say, well, slavery was in other places too. Correct. I'm not denying that. But there has never been a system of slavery like American chattel slavery. Because not only did you bring other people in other forms of slavery, you could fight in order to, you can build your wealth back. Right. You can literally work off your debts. You can marry into the family that bought you if you wanted to after you work off your debt. It wasn't something that was so dehumanizing to make sure that, okay, we are going to take the slaves who don't even, not slaves, enslaved people, who don't even speak the same languages, who aren't even from the same tribes, who don't have the same characteristics. We're going to split them up so that we can make sure they can't communicate. Then we're going to split up siblings, families, all those different sorts. Okay, fine. Now everyone's split up. We're going to make one person a breeder. So now you are dehumanizing us to the point of animals. And not only are we going to make them a breeder, if anyone acts up, we're going to take the biggest man on the plantation, bend him over and break him open, buck breaking in front of everyone so that they know not to mess with us. Right. So there's a whole level, there's people don't even know that gynecology was started from slavery, was started from a man who was a slave owner who just said, oh, I'm going to start, studying the female body. So I'm going to break female slaves open with no numbing, right. No sewing, no sterile equipment, nothing. Mm-hmm. So when you say this is in America, and then that's not even starting to go into okay, America's established, and now we have different people, immigrants moving from different countries. Now we have the Chinese Exclusion Act. So now we're going against Asian people. Now we have these different acts. The Irish, there were laws going against Irish people. There's so many. It's so sad.
It is. To interject, I was looking at a popular daytime talk show, The View, this morning. I always look at it every single day. And one of the co-hosts was talking about the rhetoric that is allowed on social media. And she equated Minister Farrakhan to spewing hate speech. And I was just so taken aback because once again, we are minimizing the Black experience, the Black narrative to circumvent all of these past experiences, current experiences, and future experiences. So to continue to see, Black culture and Black leaders defamed on national television still after the siege of the Capitol, I was a little bit taken aback this morning. But let me just tell you something, Tyla. I knew that I could have this conversation with you because I researched. And, I familiarized myself with your background, and you are just civically minded and engaged. You are very sensitive and involved in just making sure that you are adding to the culture, and you're so young. And I was so impressed by that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to lead the conversation this way. So let's transition to your role on ABC's For Life. That show is really on the peak of social justice. And it is right on time, even before all of this happened last week. Talk about your character, Jasmine Wallace, for just a moment.
Of course. So Jasmine is like, most women. She's a daddy's girl. She absolutely loves her father. And she's recently had a child. She's a straight A student. She's lovable. But one thing she will do, she's going to fight for her family. And, her father was taken from her at a very young age, I think at the age of 5, maybe 6. And, growing up, knowing that your father was taken from you instead of, oh, he did something bad or whatever. She always believed that her father didn't do anything wrong, which he didn't. It was taken from her. So she said, I'm going to fight to get my daddy back. So the season 1 was basically centered around, for Jasmine's character, centered around getting her father out and just finally having that nuclear family unit that she deserved. And now that he's out, season 2 is talking basically about his recovery and how he is, transitioning from prison world to real life now. And it's kind of heavy because I feel like a lot of people don't realize that the prison system not only is fairly different not only is different from what's going on today, but more so if somebody is locked up for over 10 years, even technology wise, coming out and seeing a smartphone. Like, I don't know if you remember when Boosie came out, he was like, what is Instagram? And we're like, how could you not know? The prison system very much so isolates you from everything. So he's coming out, he's getting accustomed, and then he's finding ways, therapeutic ways to get away from that feeling that he felt of always running, always looking over his shoulder. I know in one of the episodes, you hear a siren go off and the whole table just stops because he's hyperventilating. Right. We're just figuring that whole thing out. And she's finding out how to be a mom. So
talk about that because that was such a pivotal moment for young Black girls and also for Black mothers such as myself. I really had to have a conversation based on your character, Jasmine, with my daughter about teenage pregnancy and motherhood, because Jasmine's character, when she got pregnant, she was still a teenager, correct?
Yeah, junior year. Yeah.
Were you kind of hesitant to explore such a controversial character? Because we always see stereotypes on television, Black girl has a baby. Yeah. Were you hesitant to play such a role?
I wasn't hesitant at all. I think it actually enticed me because not only was it a chance to talk about, breaking stereotypes or me being able to actively, physically break the stereotype of angry Black woman or the angry young Black girl who had a child because she's promiscuous, because she's going through problems. It was more so like, okay, this thing happened. People in life make mistakes. And I think that's also a theme throughout the show. Mm-hmm. Your worst mistake is not your whole life.
Retribution.
We like to equate that, especially with prisoners. So I think it was just like, okay, this happened, and now we're rolling with the punches. And it was also a chance to talk about Black pregnancy, like Black women being pregnant. I think 3 times the amount of Black women die compared to everyone else during pregnancy, and whether that's due to racial complications in hospitals, whether that's due to physical complications or genes, whatever it may be, it's a very scary time. I know it was trending many a times on Twitter this year for various reasons, but more so just being able to say, okay, not only am I worrying about the pregnancy and things that can happen, but I'm also worrying about what happens when I have the baby. Now, how am I going to take care of myself postpartum? How am I going to, I get to discover so many things. So I was like, this is absolutely wonderful. And I personally had a friend who was pregnant at the time when I was going into the show. So I was like, okay, I have people to pull from. I have my mom to pull from, you know. It's just a wonderful role, really. She's a very lovable girl. So I
So
wasn't scared at all.
in your discovery moments, based upon your character, what did you discover about yourself?
Okay, I'm a lot more I think because we're in our minds all the time, we don't realize how far ahead we are. I'm very much so trying to have these different conversations with certain people my age. I was like, oh, people don't talk about this stuff. Not only do people not talk about this stuff, people don't read about this stuff. So I think I'm just more involved with human life. Humans are very interesting to me. And I think as an actor, we have to be kind of crazy to be, you know, watching everyone, and we have to learn from everyone's habits. But just being able to sit back and watch people do things, I was like, oh, like I really like people. I like watching them do different things. That's what this taught me.
Got you. So you are one of the youngest characters on ABC's For Life, and you are around some veteran actors. What was one piece of advice that really resonated with you in your personal life?
Okay, everything that comes out of Joy's mouth. Joy plays my mom. Joy Bryant plays my mom in the show. I love Joy. I can't tell you what she said because I will not give that away for free. But just know that Joy is a bomb.com. What's something I can tell you?
Yeah.
Nick, Mr. Nick, we had a heart-to-heart one time during something that was happening. And he just reminded me, you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just breathe and walk through things. And, you know, this industry can be scary. The different things you have to do can be scary. Like even learning our scripts, I think as creatives, even you would know because you're a creative. As a creative, you constantly feel that pressure of like, I have to perform, and I have to do it correctly, and everything has to be perfect. And he's like, we're human. Like, it is okay to step back and breathe. And I think even something as simple as that just followed me throughout the whole show. And I didn't realize how much I grew up on the show because when season 1 was starting, I was fresh out of high school.
Wow.
So it was like, instead of going from high school to college, like I remember I paid my enrollment fee for Spelman, and the very next day they were like, the show is official, you're going to New York. I was like, oh, okay. So instead of going from high school to college, I went from high school to the show. And now I'm going into my second semester sophomore year, and we're finishing up season 2. I'm like, wow, I've really developed and progressed on the show. And I'm just grateful for all of the veterans always giving me little pieces of gold along the way. I love it.
You're lucky, you know, just to be surrounded by greatness who can pour into you. But I just wanted to capture what you said about the teachable moment, about not taking life too seriously and allowing the lessons and the mistakes to happen. Even when it comes to the show, if I'm interviewing someone and there's a blunder, there's a mistake, and they're like, are you going to edit that? And I say, no, I'm not. I want people to see how mistakes are inevitable and how you can just pick back up and you can just continue on to the path of goodness.
It is
I'm glad that you captured that, because there are so many people who are on social media looking at people on social media thinking that they should kind of mirror their lives after this perfectness that really doesn't exist. Allow the mistakes to happen. You know, it's just a part of life. So thank you for mentioning that. But, you know, I also want to talk about when I interview actors and actresses, I always want to know, like, how did they get to where they currently are? Your mother was in the business, and you saw everything that your mother did. Once again, just surrounded by greatness. So when was that pivotal moment when you looked at your mother and said, I want to do that?
So it was kind of interesting. It was kind of interesting because my mom had me in college. She had me like at the start of college, and she was a theater major. She always wanted to be an actress. So literally while she was taking classes, I have pictures of professors holding me while they're teaching or me being under their desk. And I just kind of grew up doing whatever my mom was doing. I was kind of like her purse. Like if she went to improv class, I was there. And then at some point when I could start really understanding what was going on around me, which is like 5 or 6, she started to be very hands-on and being like, okay, let's go to a symphony. Like, I didn't know people my age didn't go to symphonies. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I just saw this orchestra. Like, I saw this, and they're like, what? Like, we went to symphonies, we went to plays, we went to theaters. And at some point, mom got an agent, dropped that agent. And I remember when she got another agent, which is our current agent, I love him so much, Alexander White Agency. He turned around and he was like, oh, your kid is talented. Does she want to sign on? Because I want kids. And I was like, Mom. And she's like, you have to prove yourself. And within the next 2 or 3 months, I ended up booking Coca-Cola Prince. And then that December, I booked a series called Six. And I was only supposed to be on there for 2 episodes, but they liked me so much, they kept me for the whole series. So my mom was like, okay, like she can get the agency.
You proved yourself. But
Yeah.
once again, it speaks to surrounding yourself with greatness, surrounding yourself with people who can pour into you. When you're around excellent people who are destined towards greatness, they look at the people around them and say, okay, I see this and that person, this and that person. So I'm glad that your mother, you know, like you said, you were her purse. I love that analogy right there. So another, you know, just message for the people. But Tyla, you have a way with words. You have a way with words that is uber impressive. I'm an author. I've written a few books, co-authored a few books as well. And words just really soothe my soul. So when I read some of your poetry, when I tell you I was captivated and I was impressed, I was humbled and honored to hear or to read such words from a young mind. But there was one sentence that of a poem that you wrote, and I want you to explain what you meant.
Okay.
You wrote this poem in honor of Juneteenth, and the sentence reads, "The clock on my skin is ticking." Do you remember that you wrote that?
No. I write a lot though, so
I read that poem the day after the siege of the Capitol. And when it resonated, I'll read it again. The clock on my skin is ticking.
okay. Like I know what I meant, but like I don't remember writing.
You did.
You know, when you're a creative, you do so much, you're just like, huh, that happened? Okay, cool. The clock on my skin is ticking. I feel like it's very evident. I feel like people understand. I'll say this, and then I like to leave stuff up to interpretation because we all come from different walks of life, and that's the beauty in art. You can take it however you want to take it and digest it however you want to digest it. But I will say this, the African-American experience in America as a person who grew up in America, who is Black appearing, is an experience like no other. Because not only are you affected by the consequences of the law, the government, and people around you, but you have to learn certain things early on that other children may not have to worry about as much. I was having a conversation with one of my friends who just so happens to be Caucasian, and we were just talking about how it shapes your mind so much that you don't even notice that people have a different experience. For example, me walking into a CVS, a Walgreens, a Target, not only do I feel like even now today when I'm 20, even though I have to remind myself like, it's okay, fight against the stereotype, I feel like if I don't walk out buying something, then someone's going to think I stole something. Or I will see people, like the other day, I walked into a grocery store and dude, I'm not going to say what, you know, ethnicity or race he was, but is following me basically around the store. I can peep that. We can all peep that. And just watching what I'm picking up. And I'm like, I promise you, I won't steal milk. Like, I'm going to pay for my milk. Mm-hmm. You know, even besides that, walking to a CVS, a Target, a Walmart, and not finding hair products for my hair until maybe 2017. Walking in and having to deal with whatever is there, even like going on vacation and being like, okay, I have to pack my Shea Moisture. I have to pack my As I Am to make sure that my hair is right. Because if I get there, I don't know what they're selling. Mm-hmm. You know, it's so many things that aren't targeted for or catered to the Black community that we just have to learn so many different things to be able to keep up with everyone else.
Yeah.
And have a regular human experience.
Yeah.
And people always say, I don't see color, but it erases the experience that we do have. You know, it's okay to see color. It's important to see color because it says that my experience is valid, it's happening, and you understand the consequences of it.
I like that. I'm going to take that. I hear a lot of the response where people say, you know, I don't see color. I want you to see my color because it'll better help you understand my experience.
Exactly.
The cloth that I was cut from. But, you know, speaking of, you know, just the Black experience, you know, it made me remember as you were talking something that I recently did, and I'm not sure if it was correct, but I felt like, you know, what did you say? The clock on my skin is ticking. I went shopping last week, and I was going to a high-end store, and I decided to really get dressed up. And my daughter said, well, Mom, why are you getting dressed up? I said, today, I don't feel like going into this high-end store looking, you know, like I just threw something on and be stereotyped and followed around the store. Maybe if I look like money, you know, they're more prone to think that I'm going to purchase something. And then I looked at my daughter and I said, you know, I'm hoping that I'm giving her the right message, but I don't want her to conform to just make someone else happy. I should be able to show up in my own skin and be comfortable and confident in that. And once I processed that thought, I took everything off. And I said, you know what? Let's go. Let's go. And whatever that we have in this high-end store, hopefully, you know, we'll be able to navigate it successfully. But there was a high level of anxiety every time we go into these stores. Will we be followed? Will we be stereotyped? And it's unfortunate that I have to experience it, but it is fortunate that I often experience it with my daughter who is in her 20s, so I can help her navigate it. Have you encountered any of those type of stereotypes when you're going on auditions for roles?
Going where?
On auditions for roles.
Auditions, I think I was lucky enough to be raised in Atlanta. So Atlanta is already very heavily concentrated Black city. So a lot of casting directors and people out of inside the perimeter understand different things that go on. I think the worst thing I've ever heard, if you want to know that, is like, can you be more urban? But it's also like, I don't take it as me being stereotyped against most of the time, because I feel like coming into this industry, people don't know what they want. Like you're as an actor, you're always taught, the casting director, they don't know what they want until they see it. Mm-hmm. So they also, if they have not lived your experience, don't know how to ask for certain things that they may want because they don't understand how it is to ask for it. I've experienced real racism. So when someone says, can you be more urban? I take it like, okay, you're not being racist. You're not being stereotypical. You just don't understand how to ask me to do a certain thing because you haven't experienced it. And I get what you mean. So I'll try. But, you know, fortunately, I know there's racial discrimination in the business. There's different things that go on. I've been lucky enough not to experience it as of yet.
But isn't that a little bit stereotypical, you know, for a casting director to assume that as a Black girl that you know what an urban experience is like? I think that's still stereotypical because we're not monolithic at all.
No, not to say that I'm monolithic, but also, you know, in these shows, we have different characters. And for example, right, let's say I'm doing a certain type of show where kids are growing up clearly like on the west side of Atlanta. So they talk different than kids on the east side of Atlanta. They talk different than kids on the south side of Atlanta. So if you're asking me for a certain thing that I'm not performing for, I can understand that. It would be different if I got something that was like open ethnicity to the point where the accent is open. But if you ask for a certain accent and I'm not doing that accent, I think people who are not of color, who have good intentions, sometimes just really have not been taught how to explain that. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of like, right. They don't know what to ask for. Like I can tell when I grew up in the South. I'm a Southern child. I can tell when someone want to say something to me that's racist or stereotypical. I've been through that thousands of times, but I'm just lucky enough to not experience it in the industry.
Good. Now, circling back to Isaac Wright Jr. When the real life Isaac Wright Jr., when he was convicted in 1991, I remember that. I remember that story so vividly. I'm born and raised in New York City. So that song, it was the top story in 1991. How did you, when you landed the role, were you more curious about what happened in 1991 to better assist you in playing his daughter on television?
Yeah, definitely. I looked Mr. I went on Justia, which is a law website, and I looked up his case. I looked up what laws were used to fight against his case. And then, personal experience. Mr. Isaac is amazing. He comes on set sometimes. It's pre-COVID. He would come on set all the time. He'd be there as an active tool and a pillar for us to use for resource. And I remember he was talking to my mom about his experience and just saying how literally when he was in the cell, all he could think to do was read to escape whatever was going on. It was like, okay, well, I know I don't want to be here, so I'm going to make sure I'm not going to be here. And that type of determination, literally, just even besides the role, besides an actress, being a future law student, I was like, this is wild. Like, it was like I had Eartha Kitt in front of me. I was just like, I'm fangirling, and I try not to let him know I'm fangirling because I'm like, I don't want him to feel weird, but like, oh my God, Isaac Wright is next to me. Like, it's very cool.
Good. And recently I heard that he's running for mayor of New York City. And I'm scheduled to have some of the mayoral candidates of New York City on the show just so they can talk to me and to really shed light on their political framework so that we really know who we're voting for and we're putting the right people in office. What can you tell my viewers about Isaac Wright Jr. That can help his candidacy and his run for New York City mayor?
All I can do, this is crazy because I know the way I vote. So all I can say to you is that for me personally, he's been a wonderful tool. He is a very educational tool. He's very knowledgeable. And when it comes to law, he knows how to study it. He knows how to use it. If you want further education on what his candidacy looks like, then I encourage you to go to his page, listen to his speeches. I'm not a New York citizen. I'm a Georgia girl. I'm an ATL peach. So if you as a New York citizen are thinking about voting and you're thinking about voting for Mr. Wright, definitely visit his page, listen to what he has to say, and then decide for yourself. Yeah. I'm not one on pushing, but I'm gonna just say he's a good man, but I'm not voting in this election because it's my election. So go ahead and visit his website and, educate yourself.
Yeah. I definitely encourage everyone to do their own research, but I just wanted you to talk about his character, the person, the man, because what the internet will give us will not give us his character, his morals, his ethics. So I'm glad that you're saying he's a good dude. He's a good dude. So then it'll compel me to say, okay, let me research this good dude to see.
Yeah, Mr. Wright is literally the sweetest. Like literally the sweetest.
What type of law do you want to practice?
So I'm currently concentrating in international law. I was thinking of contractual, whether that be intellectual property or I was thinking maybe something, I'm still deciding, but I know I want to do something contractual so that I can travel and still do what I want to do.
Got you. So we are still in the middle of season 2, I believe, of ABC's For Life. All the time. And if I don't catch the live show, I'm always catching it on demand. What can we further expect from your character, Jasmine Wallace? Ooh.
It's gonna get real.
Really?
Keyword real. That's all I can say. Hopefully I don't get in trouble over that. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. Can you excuse me for 3 minutes? I will be right back.
Go right ahead.
Right back. Something for I'll be right back.
Go right ahead. So Tyla, she is on set right now. She is about to do a table read. I knew this before the show. I was going back and forth with her publicist, and they said that Tyla's time was a little bit limited. And then before Tyla joined you all for the show, we just had a conversation, about the lines that she has to read for this table read. So I'm just going to cross my fingers. I'm going to wish her luck. Isn't she amazing? 20 years of age. I know some full-fledged adults who I can't even have these type of conversations with. I remember, last week, very, very recent, the siege on the Capitol, I was really looking for adult friends to have conversations with so I can unpack this pivotal moment in history. I wanted to make sure that I had a conversation with young, impressionable minds just to make sure that they fully understood what was going on so that they can give them an accurate history lesson, because we all know that by the time the siege on the Capitol makes history books, it's going to be so watered down. It is going to look like a peaceful kumbaya moment. It was nothing more than people having a temper tantrum. It really was. And this was the first time since I've been born in American history where I saw such a disruption of life, where I said, you know what, I'm going to sit back because I know that this doesn't affect me at all. So we have Tyla back. How was the table read? How was
It's happening in my ear.
Oh, wow. So the table read, is that for life or is that for another show that you're on?
For life.
It's for life.
Yeah.
How long are you on set on a daily basis?
It really just depends. It depends on the episode, and then it also depends on how they schedule it. Because depending on the DP, sometimes they'll schedule all my scenes from 1 to 3 days. So I'll be on set maybe those 3 days. We've had night shoots where I wake up at 7, I'll be gone at like 10 p.m. So it just depends.
And you're filming here in New York City, correct?
Yes.
Wow. So what do you love about my amazing city of New York, where I was born and raised? Yeah, that's the New York attitude. We love New York City. New York City.
You know what's funny about this? Last year, I remember I came to New York, and like I said, I'm fresh out of high school. So I was just like, I don't got no friends. Like, I don't know nobody in New York. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to meet people, whatever. And I just remember telling my mom, like, oh my God, I hate it here. Because I love certain things about New York, but I used to get followed on the train. Like, I feel like people could peep that I was a tourist. I used to get followed on the train. Homeless people used to harass me. And then I don't like pizza. I'm sorry. It's stale bread. I'd rather just eat spaghetti. I was just like, I hate it. And literally a month later, because it came down in August, by September, I was like, I have my puffer coat. I used to get cheese slices, even though I don't like pizza. I used to be going down to Manhattan. I knew all the train lines. I was like, I'm going to take the 2 to the B, then I'm going to go here.
Nice.
I love it. I adore New York.
Yeah, it's contagious. I mean, it's a bit overwhelming if you're not used to the big city and all it has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get acclimated to it, you're wondering, why didn't I fall in love with this city in the first place? I just want to give you some advice about New York City and being on the train. This is what I tell my daughter.
Of course.
Never look crazy in the eyes. So if you see someone who looks suspect, turn away.
I didn't even, there's one time I went, we used to live near Barclays last season. We moved, but we used to live near Barclays. So we were coming back on the train, going from Barclays down to like Flatbush. And I was with my mom, and this guy walks in and he's screaming, but he knows that's the thing about crazy people in New York. They know they're crazy because he was screaming. And then when the doors would open, he'll be quiet. So people would get on the car. And then when the doors close and you can't escape, now he's screaming again. And he kept screaming in me and my mom's direction. It's a crowded train, but he's clearly screaming at us and the guy next to us. And we're just like, I'm on my phone. I'm just peeping out the corner of my eyes. I'm like, don't do nothing. And before right as the train opens, right before it closes, he spits in our direction and then runs. And I was like, from then I was like, okay, if I'm going to be here, I need to be tough. People in Atlanta, we drive in our cars. We don't really interact with people if we have to. But it's like everything is so far. We're always in our cars, and like if we see people, it's in the store. And then COVID, you don't really see nobody. But that, I was like, what my tough girl face look like? My mom was like, you got to put on a poker face. Why are you smiling at everybody? I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm happy.
There's no smiles in the street. You know, my mask. I got a personalized mask that says smiling so that people know that I'm actually smiling. But true story, I was walking in the street just about 2 days ago. And I saw a person who appeared to be, it seemed like, you know, he had on his crazy hat and he was walking towards me. I took a lighter out my bag. I just started flicking it. Like, I would set you on fire. So, and it's a shame that, you know, you have to, you know, show you're tough. You have you have to show that, hey, I'm going to fight back. But this is
a beautiful city, though. It's just, but everybody kind of has this mindset. Now I see why they say Southern hospitality. Everyone just has this mindset that's like, I'm busy, I got stuff to do, or I'm crazy. There's no in between. It's either you work on Wall Street or you busy working in Manhattan or working somewhere, or you just kind of crazy. You're just a little off. And that's fine. You know, we like crazy. You just don't bring it near me. Don't, you know, it's funny.
Yeah, New Yorkers are a little bit touched. My daughter tells me all the time, she's like, Mom, you know, something's really wrong with you mentally. But I love her anyway. So I know that you have to go. But, you know, once again, like I said, you're around the same age as my daughter. And I pose this question to her, you know, every year or every 2 years. So I'm going to pose the same question to you, even though you're young. What would you like your legacy to be?
It's just a small side story. Literally since I was 5 years old, I always knew like what I wanted to do. And I had my whole life planned. And then around high school, I realized like, oh, you can't plan your life because things are going to happen. You're going to have ebbs and flows. So I know this is a horrible answer to the question, but really it's whatever God leads me to do, honestly. Because the way, even down to the story I was telling you about how this show happened. I went to the pilot my senior year, and it was like towards May. We graduate in May, and I had the last week of school. There was like all finals and AP tests because I was an AP student, dual enrollment tests. And the Sunday before that week, they were like, you need to be in New York for upfronts. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I got AP tests, I got finals, and all my teachers were like, go. And I'm like, but education. Like, and they're like, you can take your test over there, just go. Like, just he moves me where he wants me to be, no matter how hard I fight against it, because I don't know what's best for me, but I do know what the universe presents me with, and I lean on him for answers. So whatever he wants my legacy to be, I'm sure it's something with helping people. I'd love to be a philanthropist, whatever it is that I do to get there. That's him, but I'd love to just give back. One thing I can say,
what?
I would like to be able to provide affordable housing to those in low socioeconomic conditions. We have a lot of people being displaced.
Yeah.
And as someone who grew up in Atlanta my whole life, I see it with my own eyes. And generations of people being displaced with, you know, I want to be able to provide that housing. I want to be able to provide people with a solid foundation and land to be able to give back to their children and their children's children, and something that's sturdy, that's not just thrown together. So hopefully God allows me to do that. If not, I'm sure he'll use me in another way.
Oh, he will. He will. And I wonder why he will continue using you, because you are allowing him to. You know that this life is much bigger than yourself and that you are only a vessel. So because of that, your openness and your willingness and your faith and your attachment to a higher power that is much stronger than you, I'm sure, I am positive that it will happen. Tyla, you've been amazing. Like I said, you're old, and this conversation, sometimes I can't even have it with adults. So thank you for pouring life, pouring blessings, talking about the culture and your contribution to it. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. I get to talk about politics. This is fun.
So just real quick, can you just tell my listeners and my viewers where they can find you on social media?
Of course. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Tyla Harris, on YouTube at The Queen Tyla. I might start dropping videos, maybe. IMDb, you can look me up, Tyla Harris. And I don't have Facebook. You know, my mom is like, you need Facebook. But I'm like, I'm not at that age yet. So
I don't have Facebook.
But everything is Tyla Ann Harris, just my name. And if you forget my name, you can look me up.
Got it. Well, Tyla, thank you so much. I'll be tuning in to the remainder of For Life on ABC. I wish you continued blessings, and tell your mother I said, and that applause for bringing us you. Thank you so much, and I'll catch up with you later.
All right.
Bye. So there you have it. 20-year-old actress Tyla Ann Harris, and she has her head on straight. As you can see, at 20 years old, she definitely has her pulse on current events. She has her pulse on past history and how it has impacted today's current narrative and the future narrative. I'm really sweating. So I enjoyed hearing from her, talking with her, and I hope that you enjoyed listening to her and watching her as well. A working actress, a working Black young girl. As you can see, she's still on set reading lines for ABC's For Life so that she can bring you more stellar performances. Make sure, once again, that you are subscribed to all Sonya On Air streaming platforms. Make sure that you visit my website, www.sonyaonair.com. You can also find me on IG. That's Instagram for those of you who don't know. That's Sonya_on-air. What else do I have to say? Be safe out there. Make sure that you are staying tuned to the current news. And as I'm saying this, I hear something go off in the background outside. So it is really relevant times right now. Make sure that you are pouring knowledge and life into these young, impressionable minds because we are at a critical space in American history. I thank you so much for tuning in again. This is the first show of Sonya On Air Season 9. And I have so many more celebrity interviews lined up where we unpack their pivotal moments and their milestones. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.